The moment the jackpot numbers were announced, his eyes lit up, not with joy to share, but with greed and arrogance. Just weeks before their baby's arrival, he packed his bags, slammed the door, and left her standing in their small living room. At a crowded bar, he laughed with his new circle of friends, bragging about how he'd finally escaped that ugly pregnant woman. He even told people she was a burden he had to get rid of. Her calls went unanswered. Her messages were ignored. He didn't even look back. But life has a way of turning tables. Months later, when he strutted into an event as if he owned the world, he froze. Because what stood before him wasn't the woman he'd abandoned, but someone far more powerful than he ever imagined. This is the story of betrayal, humiliation, and a comeback so stunning it left him speechless. What do you think happened next? Hello family, welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request, please. Subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from, because together, we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual that night. The air inside the small living room felt heavy, a mix of engine grease, baby lotion, and quiet worry. Emily Turner sat on their old couch, folding tiny baby clothes with care, even though her back ached from carrying a belly that felt like a bowling ball. Across the room, her husband, Michael Turner, sat hunched over the kitchen table, scratching his head as he stared at a pile of unpaid bills. The numbers blurred together like bad dreams. Rent was late again. The electricity bill had a red stamp on it. "Mike," Emily said softly, "I can sell my bracelet tomorrow. That should cover the rent for this month." Michael lifted his head, his jaw tight. "You already sold your wedding ring last month, Em. I can't let you sell more." She smiled, trying to lighten his mood. "It's just a bracelet. We'll buy it back when things get better." He sighed and leaned back, rubbing his temples. "You always say that. But things never get better." Emily set down the baby clothes and walked to him. She placed her hands on his shoulders. "They will, Michael. You just need to believe." That he turned to her, his face tired but his eyes searching. "You really think so?" "I know so," she said, brushing a strand of hair off his forehead. "You're a good man. You're working hard. Something good will happen. I feel it." He wanted to believe her, but all he could see was failure staring back at him. His repair shop was barely surviving. Customers complained, parts were expensive, and every day felt like a grind that led nowhere. Then he remembered the lottery ticket he bought earlier that afternoon, just a random pick from the gas station. He had said it was for luck, but deep down, he didn't believe in luck. Still, he reached into his pocket and pulled it out. "Maybe this is it," he muttered. Emily chuckled. "You and your crazy ideas." He grinned weakly. "Hey, can't hurt to dream, right?" Later that night, the TV flickered as the lottery numbers were announced. Emily was half asleep on the couch, her hand resting on her belly, when Michael suddenly sat upright. Wait, hold up," he said, staring at the screen. "What?" she mumbled, opening her eyes. He pointed at the TV. "Those numbers. I think I got them." She blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" He grabbed the ticket from his pocket, his hands shaking. "Look, 05, 14, 28, 33, 47, and Powerball 9. He looked back at the screen. "It's the same! Emily, it's the same!" She sat up. "No way! You're joking." "I'm not!" he shouted, jumping to his feet. "We won, Emily! We actually won!" For a second, the room froze. Then Emily's eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth, sobbing. "Oh my God, Michael!" "We won?" He laughed, spinning around the room. $1.5 million, baby. We're rich. We're finally free. Emily got up slowly, holding her belly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh, thank God! Michael, this means we can finally fix the shop, pay off our debts, and get ready for the baby." But before she could finish, she noticed the look on his face. It wasn't joy anymore. It was something else. Sharp, distant, almost cold. He stopped laughing. Yeah, I guess." She frowned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "I'm just thinking." "Thinking about what?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the ticket, his mind racing. $1.5 million. He'd never seen that kind of money in his life. For the first time, he didn't feel small. He didn't feel trapped. He didn't need anyone, not even her. The next morning, Michael left early. He didn't say where he was going. Emily assumed he went to claim the prize. She spent the day preparing his favorite meal, meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and even decorated the kitchen a little with what they had. By evening, he still hadn't returned. Her excitement started turning into worry. At 10 p.m., she heard a car horn outside. She rushed to the door, expecting him to walk in smiling. But instead, a sleek new car pulled up, and Michael stepped out wearing new clothes, clean jeans, a leather jacket, a shiny watch. And he wasn't alone. A woman with long blonde hair sat in the passenger seat, smirking at Emily through the window. "Michael?" Emily called, confused. He walked up slowly, his face blank. "Yeah, it's me." "What's going on?" "Who is she?" "Her name's Lena," he said flatly. "A friend." From the bar, Emily's heart dropped. "You brought another woman here?" "She's just giving me a ride. Don't make it a big deal." Emily stepped forward, trembling. "Where have you been all day?" "You didn't even call. I was worried sick." He shrugged. "Busy. Had to take care of the money, talk to people, sign papers." "You wouldn't understand." Her eyes welled up. "I don't understand. I've been with you through everything, Michael. I worked 2 jobs when you lost yours. I sold my jewelry for your shop. And now what?" he snapped. "Now you think I owe you something because I bought a ticket and got lucky?" She flinched. "That's not what I meant." He scoffed. "You wouldn't get it, Emily. You're different. You don't fit the kind of life I want now." Her lip trembled. "What kind of life do you want?" He looked back at the car where Lena was waiting, her red lips curled into a smug smile. "A better one." Later that night, Michael sat at the bar with Lena. The place was buzzing with laughter, music, and flashing lights. People were already talking about the mechanic who hit the jackpot. Lena leaned closer, her perfume strong enough to choke him. "So, you really left her? Just like that?" Michael smirked, sipping his drink. "Yeah, she's not my type anymore. I've been stuck with her for years. She's always tired, always complaining. You know how it is." Lena giggled. "You deserve better, baby. You're rich now. You don't need some sad, pregnant wife holding you back." He chuckled, a hint of guilt flickering before greed smothered it. "You're right." Lena touched his hand. "You could do better than that plain housewife. You should enjoy yourself." Michael grinned. "You know what? I will back home." Emily sat alone on the couch, staring at the front door. It was past midnight. Rain tapped against the window. She tried calling him, again and again, but the line went straight to voicemail. "Hi, this is Michael. Leave a message." "Michael, please come home," she whispered into the phone. "We can talk about this. I know you're angry, but please don't do this. I love you." She ended the call and pressed her hand over her chest, feeling the baby kick. "I'm sorry, little one," she said softly. "Your daddy's just confused." The next morning, she woke to the sound of a car engine outside. Hope rushed through her. She ran to the window and froze. Michael was standing by the trunk, loading suitcases into the back seat of the new car. Lena stood beside him, laughing. Emily rushed out into the rain, barefoot, her robe tied loosely over her belly. "Michael!" "What are you doing?" He didn't look at her. "I'm leaving!" Her heart raced. "Leaving? What do you mean?" He slammed the trunk. "I mean I'm done, Emily. I'm not coming back." Tears spilled down her face. "You can't do this. Not now. I'm about to have your baby." He finally turned to face her. His eyes were cold. "You'll be fine. You always figure things out." "Michael, please." "Don't throw everything away. We were supposed to share this win together." He laughed bitterly. "Share? I earned that ticket. It's my money. You didn't believe in me when I was down. Now you want a piece when I'm up?" She shook her head, sobbing. "That's not true. I've always believed in you. I never stopped." He stepped closer, his words cutting like knives. "You're just jealous because I finally have something. Look at you. 8 months pregnant, no job, no looks, no ambition. You're ugly and unlucky." Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "How could you say that?" He shrugged. "Because it's true." The rain poured harder, lightning flashed. She dropped to her knees, clutching her belly as pain shot through her body. "Michael," she whispered, "don't do this." "Please." He turned away, motioning to Lena. "Let's go." As the car door slammed, Emily's sobs turned into screams, part heartbreak, part pain. She fell, forward onto the wet ground, gripping her stomach. "Michael!" she cried out. But he didn't look back. The car sped off, taillights disappearing into the storm. Emily lay there, soaked and trembling, until her phone buzzed beside her. She picked it up with shaking hands. It was a message from the hospital app, reminding her of her prenatal checkup. But before she could respond, another wave of pain hit, sharp and deep. Her vision blurred. The phone slipped from her hand. Her water had broken. Rain mixed with her tears as she whispered, "Not now. Please, not now." But it was happening. Alone, heartbroken and abandoned, Emily Turner went into labor, the same night her husband celebrated his new life. And somewhere in the distance, the man who once promised her forever raised a glass to his freedom, not realizing he had just cursed his own fate. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give a future to children and women who have been abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Also, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from, and how did this story speak to you? The sound of hospital machines filled the small, crowded room. Beeping monitors, squeaky wheels, nurses shouting names. It was chaos. Emily lay on the bed, drenched in sweat, clutching the sides of the mattress. Her breaths came sharp and fast. The pain was blinding, but what hurt more was the empty space beside her. There was no hand holding hers, no voice telling her, "It's going to be okay." No husband pacing nervously by the bed. She was alone. "Push, Mrs. Turner, one more push," the nurse urged. Emily screamed, tears mixing with sweat as she gave everything she had left. Minutes felt like hours until the cry of a newborn filled the air, high and pure. The nurse smiled. "It's a boy." Emily's tears flowed freely now. "A boy," she whispered, her voice breaking. The nurse wrapped the baby and placed him in her trembling arms. The world seemed to pause. The tiny face scrunched, the little fingers curled around her thumb. "Hey there, baby," she whispered weakly. "It's just you and me now." The nurse smiled softly. "Do you have a name for him?" Emily looked down at the baby's sleepy face. "Noah," she said after a moment. "His name is Noah." The first few days in the hospital were the hardest. The nurses came and went, but no one came to visit her. The woman in the next bed had flowers, gifts, balloons. Emily had silence. She tried calling Michael every day, sometimes 10 times a day. Every call went unanswered. She texted, "Michael, please, I had the baby. Please come." No reply. On the third night, she saw his social media post, a picture of him and Lena holding champagne glasses in front of a new mansion. The caption read, "Finally living the life I deserve." The comments were full of congratulations. People called him lucky, smart, a man who knew what he wanted. Emily closed her eyes, her heart breaking all over again. When she was discharged, the nurse hesitated before handing her the bill. "Do you have someone coming to get you?" Emily forced a smile. "No, I'll manage." She walked out of the hospital holding baby Noah, wearing the same faded dress she'd gone in with. The air outside was cold, the sky grey. She had nowhere to go but home, if she could still call it that. When she reached their old house, she found the locks changed. A bright red for sale sign stood in the front yard. She froze on the sidewalk, clutching Noah to her chest. Mrs. Green, their neighbour, stepped outside holding her little dog. Her eyes widened. "Emily?" "Oh dear. I heard what happened." Emily's lips trembled. He sold the house." Mrs. Green nodded, avoiding her eyes. "Yes. Moved out the same week he won. Bought that fancy place up on Hillcrest Avenue." Emily swallowed hard. "Did he say anything about me?" The old woman hesitated. "He said you were staying somewhere else." Emily's voice broke. "I wasn't." Mrs. Green sighed and patted her shoulder awkwardly. "People change when money's involved, dear. You and the baby can stay with me tonight if you'd like." "Thank you," Emily whispered. Word spread fast in their small town. Everyone knew the story. The mechanic who hit the jackpot and abandoned his pregnant wife. Some pitied her, some mocked her, most avoided her. At the grocery store she overheard whispers. "That's her. Can you believe he left her? She should have seen it coming." Emily kept her head down, clutching Noah close, pretending not to hear. At night, she lay awake in Mrs. Green's guest room, watching her baby sleep beside her. Every soft breath reminded her that she still had something worth fighting for. "Don't worry, Noah," she whispered. "Mommy's going to make it somehow." But inside, she felt like a ghost, drifting, unseen, unwanted. Meanwhile, Michael was living a different kind of life. His new mansion sat on top of Hillcrest Avenue, glass walls, marble floors, a pool that sparkled like liquid silver. Parties happened almost every weekend. Music blasted, guests laughed, and Lena never left his side. Michael had everything he thought he wanted: money, friends, attention. But the more he spent, the emptier it felt. One night at a party, one of the guests, a real estate guy, clapped him on the back and said, "Man, you're lucky you ditched that wife when you did. She'd have bled you dry." Michael smirked. "Yeah, she was holding me back. A mistake from my poor days." Lena giggled, leaning into him. "You're free now, baby." Forget about her. And for a while he tried to, but sometimes, when the party lights dimmed and the laughter faded, he'd remember Emily's face, tired, hopeful, full of belief in him. And something inside him twisted. He'd shake it off, pour another drink, and remind himself that he deserved this. Months passed. Emily's health started to fail. The pregnancy had been hard on her body and the stress made it worse. She coughed often, got dizzy easily, and barely had enough to eat. Still, she refused to give up. She found work at a small diner, waiting tables with Noah strapped to her back in a baby carrier. The pay was small, but it kept them alive. Every night after work, she'd count tips on the table and whisper to her baby, "It's not much, but it's ours." But one evening, she overheard a group of customers laughing. "Did you hear? Michael Turner bought another car, a red sports car this time. He's living like a king now. That man's got taste. Too bad for that poor wife he dumped. What was her name again? Emily, I think. She works around here now, right? The laughter cut deep. Emily bit her lip hard to stop the tears. That night she went home and sat on the floor beside Noah's crib. I'm tired, baby, she whispered, but I'll keep going. I have to. One Saturday, after months of silence, Emily made a decision. She would go to Michael's mansion, not to beg for love, but for help. Noah was almost 6 months old now. Formula was expensive, her rent was due, and her body couldn't handle the long shifts much longer. She dressed carefully, an old blue dress, washed and ironed, her hair pulled back neatly. She took a bus up to Hillcrest Avenue, clutching Noah in her arms. When she reached the mansion, the tall iron gates loomed before her like prison bars. She pressed the intercom. A woman's voice came through, smooth, mocking. Yes? Lena? Emily asked, her heart racing. It's Emily. I need to talk to Michael. Please. There was a pause, then laughter. Oh, so you finally crawled back. Hold on. Moments later, Lena appeared at the gate holding a wine glass. She wore a red silk robe and a cruel smile. Well, look who it is, she said. The ex-wife. Emily swallowed. Please, I don't want trouble. I just need help. For the baby, Lena tilted her head, pretending to think. Help? You should have thought of that before you drove him crazy with your crying and nagging. That's not true, Emily whispered. Lena's eyes gleamed. You know, he calls you a mistake. Says you were dead weight. Says he's finally living now that you're gone. Emily's chest tightened. Where is he? He's busy. With people who matter. Please, Lena. Tell him I just need something for Noah. He's his son. Lena smirked, stepping closer to the gate. Oh, so this is his kid. Poor thing. Too bad he looks just like you. Emily felt her throat close. Lena, please. Before she could finish, Lena took a sip of wine, then suddenly threw the rest of the glass at her through the bars. The red liquid splashed across Emily's dress and face. Oops, Lena said sweetly. Guess you're used to being dirty. Emily stood frozen, her body shaking, Noah crying in her arms. People nearby turned to look. Some laughed, some filmed. Lena smiled and walked away, her heels clicking against the marble driveway. Emily wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She felt humiliated, small and invisible. Then she heard a voice behind her. Excuse me, miss, said an older man in a grey suit standing by a black car parked nearby. His hair was silver, his posture straight. Are you all right? Emily wiped her face quickly. I'm fine. Thank you. He frowned. That didn't look fine to me. She shook her head, holding Noah tighter. It doesn't matter. I just need to go. The man looked at her carefully. You're Emily Turner, aren't you? Her eyes widened. How do you know me? I know him, the man said quietly. Michael Turner. I do business in this neighborhood. I've seen enough to know what kind of man he's become. Emily looked down, embarrassed. I don't want pity, sir. I just want to take care of my son. He nodded. You're strong. But even strong people need help sometimes. She bit her lip, tears threatening again. Help always comes too late. The man smiled gently. Sometimes God lets people lose everything so they can find what truly matters. She looked at him, unsure what to say. My name is Richard Collins, he continued. I own a few businesses in the city. If you're willing, I can help you start fresh, away from all this. Emily hesitated. Why would you do that for a stranger? Because I believe in second chances, he said, and because I think you're not as broken as you feel right now. For a long moment, Emily just stood there in the rain-stained driveway, her baby crying softly against her chest. She thought of all the pain, all the humiliation, all the nights she had prayed for a sign. Maybe this was it. She nodded slowly. Okay. Mr. Collins smiled. Good. Let's get you and your son somewhere warm. That night, as his car drove away from Hillcrest Avenue, Emily looked out the window one last time. The mansion lights glowed bright behind the tall gates, a symbol of everything she had lost and everything she would rise above. Noah slept peacefully in her arms. She brushed her lips against his forehead. We're leaving it all behind, baby, she whispered. The pain, the shame, all of it. Mommy's going to start over. And for the first time in months, she felt something small but powerful stirring inside her. Hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. She was done being the woman who begged at the gate. She was walking away, broken, but not defeated. The city skyline shimmered under the morning sun. Glass towers reflected gold. Traffic buzzed below, and high above in a corner office with tall windows and polished marble floors, sat a woman typing on her laptop. Her hair fell in soft waves past her shoulders. Her suit fit perfectly, and her calm confidence filled the room. Her nameplate read, Emily Turner Collins, co-founder and CEO, Collins Logistics. 3 years had passed since that night at the gate, the night she left everything behind. 3 years since she stood in the rain, humiliated but alive. Now, that same woman who once begged for help stood at the top of a company that moved goods across the country. Trucks, ships, and planes carried the Collins Logistics logo, a gold letter C intertwined with a silver L. Her phone buzzed. She answered smoothly, her tone calm and professional. Yes, confirm the meeting with the investors for Monday. And remind the press that I'll attend the charity gala this weekend. Thank you. She hung up and leaned back in her chair, glancing at a framed photo on her desk. Her son, Noah, smiling at his kindergarten graduation, missing a front tooth. A soft knock came at the door. Come in, she said. Mr. Richard Collins stepped inside, older now but still sharp in his grey suit. His eyes softened as he looked at her. You're working too hard again. Emily smiled. Old habits die hard. He chuckled and sat across from her. You've built something extraordinary, Emily. I hope you're proud. She looked out the window. Sometimes I still can't believe it's real. I was at rock bottom when you found me. And now you're standing on marble floors, he said. You did this. I just opened a door. She nodded slowly. I'll never forget that. Richard studied her quietly. Are you ready for Saturday's gala? The board is expecting a speech. Emily smiled faintly. I'll manage. I've faced worse than microphones. He laughed softly. That you have. Just remember, you don't owe your past anything. You've earned your peace. But she didn't reply. Her mind drifted for a moment. Back to the rain, the broken glass of Lena's wine, and Michael's cruel words. No, she thought, I don't owe the past anything. But it still owes me truth. 3 years earlier, the beginning of the rise, when Emily first arrived in the city with baby Noah, she could barely afford a motel room. Mr. Collins helped her enroll in business courses, gave her a small apartment, and slowly taught her everything he knew about management and investment. At first, she doubted herself. She'd failed so many times, been told she was nothing. But Mr. Collins saw something in her, focus, grace, and quiet fire. Within a year, she was running part of his supply chain business. By the second year, she'd co-founded a new logistics company under his wing. Her natural empathy and sharp instincts turned out to be her greatest strengths. And as her company grew, so did her confidence. She changed her wardrobe, not out of vanity, but out of self-respect. Her hair shone, her voice steadied, her back straightened. She became the woman Michael once told her she could never be. At social events, people whispered, "That's Mrs. E. Collins. She's brilliant." Some assumed she was married to Mr. Collins. Neither of them ever corrected it. One night, as they left a conference, Emily asked him, Does it bother you that people think I'm your wife? Richard smiled. Not at all. The truth is yours to tell when you're ready, and she never did. The mystery helped her move freely, respected, untouchable, unbothered. Meanwhile, the fall of Michael Turner. Across town, Michael Turner was living a very different story. After 3 years of reckless spending, Lena was gone, along with his last car, his savings, and most of his dignity. She had drained every account, sold what she could, and disappeared with another man. The mansion that once glowed with lights was now dark and silent. Foreclosure papers arrived, the cars were repossessed, and the so-called friends who drank his champagne vanished overnight. He moved into a small apartment behind a liquor store. The walls were thin, the floor creaked, and his mirror reflected a man he barely recognized, unshaven, bitter, and broke. Sometimes he'd go to the bar just to hear people talk, pretending he still mattered. One night, a former party friend spotted him sitting alone. Mike Turner. Damn, man, what happened to you? Michael forced a laugh. Just taking it easy, man. Laying low. Laying low? You're broke, huh? The man sneered. Should have kept that wife of yours. I hear she turned out fine. Michael froze. What do you mean? The man shrugged. Heard some folks in the city talk about a Mrs. Collins. Big businesswoman. Looks kinda like your ex. Classy, confident. Not the same woman, though. Yours was, well, she didn't look like that. Michael felt his chest tighten. Could it be? No, he told himself. Emily was weak. She couldn't possibly. But the thought stayed with him all night. 2 weeks later, Michael saw an online post about an upcoming charity gala hosted by E. Collins Holdings. It was all over the news. The event promised high-profile guests, business magnates, investors, and politicians. He squinted at the photo attached. The headline read, E. Collins Holdings to host annual charity gala for single mothers and widows in business. Something about that title hit him like a punch to the gut. He read the names of the sponsors, and there, in bold print, was one that made his heart skip. Collins Logistics, co-founded by Mrs. Emily Turner Collins. His hands trembled. It can't be, he whispered. But the photo attached to the article showed her, standing next to Richard Collins, smiling at a press conference, wearing a sleek black suit and pearl earrings. She looked radiant, powerful, unreachable. For a long moment he just stared at the image. Then anger took over. So she ran off and married some rich old man, he muttered. Figures. Probably used my money as her stepping stone. He slammed his laptop shut, pacing the room, but then another thought crept in. If he could get close to her again, maybe he could convince her to help him. Maybe she still had feelings left. He laughed bitterly. Yeah, I'll show up. See what she's become. The night of the gala arrived. The grand ballroom at the Regal Crown Hotel gleamed with chandeliers and gold accents. The city's elite arrived in sleek suits and glittering gowns. Cameramen flashed lights, journalists whispered into mics, and the air smelled of money and ambition. Michael stood outside the entrance, wearing a borrowed suit that was too tight in the shoulders. The shoes pinched, but he didn't care. He looked up at the grand doors and took a deep breath. Showtime, he muttered. Inside, laughter and music filled the room. He slipped through the crowd, pretending he belonged. Waiters carried trays of champagne, and a jazz band played softly in the corner. He scanned the room, his eyes darting from face to face. Then he froze. Across the ballroom, under the golden lights, stood Emily. For a moment, his breath caught in his throat. She was nothing like the woman he left. Her hair glowed under the chandeliers, her posture was graceful, her dress hugged her figure elegantly. She moved with quiet command. Every head turned as she passed. A group of businessmen surrounded her, smiling and listening intently as she spoke. She laughed politely, confident and calm. Michael couldn't believe it. His mouth went dry. That's her, he whispered to himself. She caught him staring for a brief second, and her expression didn't change. No shock, no anger, no recognition. Just a calm, unreadable gaze that cut right through him before she turned away. He clenched his fists. She saw me. Michael drifted from table to table, trying to blend in. He picked up a glass of champagne from a tray, pretending to be a guest, while his mind spun. He overheard a woman nearby say, "Mrs. Collins has really turned this company into something remarkable." Another added, "She's inspiring. Imagine building an empire after everything she went through." Michael's chest burned. "Mrs. Collins," they said, as if she was someone else entirely, as if her past didn't exist. He spotted her again, this time speaking with Mr. Collins himself. The older man leaned close, smiling proudly. Michael's jaw tightened. He wanted to storm over, to say something, to remind her who she really was, but his pride held him back. He needed to wait. A few minutes later, a man in a tuxedo walked onto the small stage at the front of the ballroom. He tapped the microphone, and the room quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "thank you for joining us tonight for the annual E. Collins Charity Gala. This event is dedicated to supporting single mothers, widows, and women entrepreneurs, because strength often begins where pain once lived." Applause rippled through the hall. The host smiled. "Before we continue, I'd like to introduce the woman who made this possible, a visionary, a leader, and an inspiration to many. Please welcome the co-founder and CEO of Collins Logistics, Mrs. Emily Turner Collins." The applause exploded. Cameras flashed. People rose to their feet. Michael froze in place. The room felt like it was spinning. Mrs. Emily Turner Collins. He looked toward the stage as she appeared from behind the curtain, wearing a long black gown that shimmered like midnight. The crowd cheered as she walked slowly toward the podium, her chin high, her presence commanding. Every eye was on her. Every whisper stopped. Michael's breath caught in his chest. This wasn't the woman he left crying on the floor. This was someone reborn. Her heels clicked softly against the marble as she climbed the steps. She paused, turned slightly toward the audience, and smiled. That same gentle, radiant smile that once belonged to a humble wife, but now carried the power of a woman who had survived fire. The spotlight bathed her in gold. The music faded, and as she stepped to the microphone, Michael Turner, broke, forgotten, and trembling in the crowd, finally realized that he wasn't witnessing a stranger. He was witnessing the woman he had destroyed, and the woman who had risen from the ruins of his betrayal. The applause thundered through the ballroom as Emily Turner Collins stood under the bright stage lights. The microphone waited in front of her like an old truth waiting to be spoken. She took a slow breath and smiled at the audience, calm, radiant, and completely in control. Her black gown shimmered under the golden chandeliers. Her diamond earrings caught the light, and her presence filled the room. "Good evening, everyone," she began, her voice warm but steady. "I'm honored to stand before you tonight, not as someone who had it easy, but as someone who learned that pain can be the most powerful teacher." The crowd fell silent. Cameras flashed. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "I started my journey," Emily continued, "not in an office like this, but in a small repair shop. My hands were calloused, my clothes smelled like oil, and my dreams felt too far to reach. But I had love, and I believed that was enough." Michael stood at the back of the room near the exit, frozen in place. Every word cut through him like a blade. "Then life taught me something," Emily said, her tone sharpening slightly. "It showed me that not everyone who walks beside you is walking with you. Some are just waiting for the right moment to walk away." A low murmur ran through the crowd. Michael's breathing quickened. "But here's what I learned," Emily said. her eyes sweeping across the room. You can take everything from a good heart, money, comfort, even love, and still it will rise again. Because integrity, she paused, is wealth no thief can steal. The audience broke into applause. The cameras zoomed in on her face, serene, confident, unshakable. Michael's hands trembled. He could barely hear over the pounding of his heart. His world was spinning, not from pride, not from power, but from guilt. He had destroyed her, and now she stood higher than he could ever reach. Emily smiled softly and concluded, "So tonight, this gala isn't about riches or success. It's about second chances, about turning pain into purpose. To every woman who was ever told she wasn't enough, you are, and you always will be." The applause roared again, louder than before. People stood, clapping, cheering her name. As she stepped down from the stage, the crowd swarmed to greet her. Handshakes, compliments, flashes of cameras. But through it all, one figure pushed through from the edge of the room, his eyes wet, his expression desperate. Michael. "Emily," he called, his voice shaky. "Emily, wait." She turned, startled for a moment, but her face quickly settled into calm neutrality. "Mr. Turner," she said evenly. "It's been a while." Her tone was polite, but distant, the way one might speak to a stranger. Michael swallowed hard. "Please, don't call me that." "It's me, Michael. Your husband, your ex-husband. I know who you are," she said quietly. "I just don't know what you want." He looked around nervously. People nearby were watching, whispering. I had to see you," he said. "To say I'm sorry. I was stupid. I didn't know what I was doing back then." Emily tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "You didn't know you were abandoning your pregnant wife. Or that you were calling her ugly in front of strangers." His face flushed. "I was lost. I thought money would fix everything. Lena, she lied to me, used me. I lost everything." Emily nodded slowly. "Yes, I heard." Karma tends to balance the scales. He flinched at her words. "Emily, please. I've changed. I have nothing now. I just need another chance to explain." She interrupted softly. "You don't owe me explanations. And I don't owe you understanding." Her words were calm, but they cut deeper than any scream could. "Emily, please," he whispered. "You have no idea how sorry I am. Every night I see your face. I hate what I did. I wish I could take it back." For a moment, her expression softened, but only slightly. "You can't take back a storm after it's destroyed a home, Michael." He blinked, tears gathering in his eyes. "I know. But I can make it right somehow. I can work for you. Do anything. I just want you to forgive me." Emily stared at him, silent. Then, in a voice almost too calm, she said, "You called me ugly when I carried your legacy. Now I thank you for walking out so I could walk up." Michael froze. The words hit him like thunder. "Emily," he whispered. She took a step closer, lowering her voice. "Do you remember the night you left? When you stood in the rain and told me I was a burden?" He nodded weakly. I was drunk. I didn't mean..." "Oh, but you did," she said, a quiet fire behind her eyes. "And I made sure the world would know exactly who you were." She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen and held it toward him. On the screen played a video, grainy, taken years ago, but clear enough. It showed Michael standing outside their old house, shouting, "You're ugly and unlucky, I'm done with you," before slamming the car door and driving away. Michael's face turned white. How did you—" "I recorded it," Emily said simply. "I wanted to remember the moment I stopped begging for love." She slipped the phone back into her purse. I released it online 3 days ago, not out of spite, but truth. People should see what greed looks like when it wears a human face. Michael felt the room closing in. The whispers around them grew louder. Reporters nearby had already noticed his panic. Phones lifted, cameras flashed. Within minutes, the internet would do the rest. Emily took a slow breath. You destroyed your own name, Michael. I just turned on the lights. He stammered. Please, you can't do this to me. I didn't, she said, her voice low and firm. You did it to yourself. She turned to walk away, but he grabbed her arm. Emily, wait. Please. I have nothing left. I'm sorry, I swear. I just want to make it right. Security moved in immediately, but Emily raised her hand, signaling them to stop. She looked at Michael one last time. I already made it right, she said softly. By surviving you. Then she turned and walked toward the exit, the sound of cameras flashing behind her, every click sealing his fate. Months later, the videos spread like wildfire. News outlets replayed the footage. Social media exploded with outrage. Michael Turner became a name people spat out with disgust. He tried to find work, but no one wanted to hire him. He tried to apologize publicly, but no one cared. His friends vanished, his reputation shattered.